Welcome back to the Vendador Table. This week we are going to be tackling one of our most requested dishes, which is the Braised Lamb Rigatoni. In this episode, you'll learn how to braise your own lamb, how to make fresh rigatoni pasta with mushroom powder from scratch, and how to create the entire braise into a sauce. Let's get started. So now we're going to get started on our lamb. These are beautiful lamb shanks that are coming from Pennsylvania from Elysian Field Farms. It's an absolutely killer product and we love using it. I've been using it in restaurants for the last 10 years. So we're gonna start off by seasoning our lamb while our pan is getting hot. Pretty liberally with salt and pepper. Now that our pan is hot, we're gonna start by adding a little bit of a neutral oil in the middle. The lamb has a lot of fat, so it'll release a lot of that too. In the meantime, we'll start working on our mirepoix. So I've got some peeled carrots here, and then keep it fairly chunky. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all gonna get strained at the end of the day. Same thing with our celery. Got a little bit of fennel to get in a little bit of onion in the mix. A little bit of ginger, and of course, some crushed garlic. While this is all going, we'll start working on our peas. Okay, it's our first set of peas right there. I'm not even gonna bother blanching them. I'm just gonna throw them into the sauce when we're picking up the dish later on. But we're gonna move on to our other peas here. These are called dragon's tongue. So we've got a pretty good sear on our lamb here, as much as possible, so we're just gonna take them out, set them to the side. We see we've got all this nice lamb fat that's been rendered out. We got a little bit of this fond that's been building at the bottom. So we're just gonna go in with our veg now, just start roasting them off a little bit. In the meantime, I can keep working on my peas here. Look at these guys, beautiful little beans. Next, we can go in with our tomato paste. Next, we've got a little bit of red wine going in to deglaze the entire thing. I'm just scraping down at the same time, making sure that I'm picking up any of that fond from the bottom of the pan. So now we're down to a syrup-like consistency. I'm gonna go in with some chicken stock. From there, I'm gonna start throwing in some spices. You don't have to put them in a bag. You can if you'd really like to, but it's all gonna get strained out anyway, so I'm fine with it. So I'm going in with some fennel, 2 black cardamom pods, 2 pieces of clove, 10 pieces of whole coriander seeds, about 10 peppercorns as well, 2 whole bay leaves, a couple of sprigs of rosemary and thyme. I'm gonna end up sous videing this, and so I'm gonna put it in a bag and cook it overnight at 75 degrees just so that it's kind of fall apart tender. If you don't have a sous vide, if you don't have a vacuum seal machine, just make sure that you have basically double the volume of liquid, and you can just braise this in an oven, 270 degrees for about 4 to 6 hours, depending on the size of your actual shanks. It's just more efficient for me to do it overnight so that I'm not here having to watch it all the time, but the option is yours. So I've got an ice bath here, and I'm just gonna cool my liquid down. If you don't cool it down, it's not gonna back right. It's gonna splash everywhere, so get it cooled down first. The last thing that I'm gonna add in are some porcini mushrooms, some dried porcini mushrooms. Being that we're serving it with morel mushrooms, it'll really, really accentuate the dish. So our lamb's cooled down, our liquid is cooled down. I'm just gonna get it all in this vacuum seal bag. As the lamb starts to cook, it's gonna release a lot of its own liquid as well, which is definitely something that we want. It'll increase the volume of the sauce in and of itself, which will help us make our pasta. Next, we'll get started on our pasta dough. So going in with our double O. We also have some fine semolina, touch of salt. And then you guys remember the mushroom powder that we made a couple of episodes ago. We're going to incorporate that back into the dish as well. Something that can really help with Our flavor and our color is a little bit of tomato powder. If you don't have this, it's fine, you can skip it. And a touch of paprika. Create a hole in the center here. And for this recipe, we're actually going to use whole eggs. Make sure that our eggs are really beaten, and then start to slowly incorporate the flour into it to make that elastic dough and center. Take your time here. It's important that you do it right. So it's time for us to start bringing this in together. Start cutting the dough. It feels very elastic, feels very smooth. I've been working it for quite some time now, so I'll likely just put it into a cryovac bag to kind of really help with the elasticity of it, and from there we can start rolling it out. So the dough is very elastic. I'm going to use the KitchenAid attachment on the pasta machine here. Just make sure that you're rolling it out thin enough for you to be able to put it through the first setting on the machine. Otherwise you'll clog the machine, you'll mess it up right away. I'm going to work in batches, so I'm just going to set this to the side for right now. So now I'm up to the fourth setting, and I'm going to stop. As you can see, this is kind of just looking a little bit wonky. I'm both going to reinforce the gluten structure by folding this back over itself, but also it helps it get a little bit of a neater look to it so that you get as little trim of this pasta that is not usable at the end of this. So just fold it back over itself, get it back into a rectangle, and then start back at speed 1. Very important. From here, I'm just gonna take out some of these like drier pieces here. And then we've got this bad boy here, a pastry cutter. It's really as large as you want to make them or as small as you want to make them. This is a really awesome tool. And then once you're there, you can really just lock this into place, and then they'll stay within the width that you'd like. Basically, I'm just gonna cut out little rectangles and then little squares on the other side. I'm gonna cut this into thirds. Once I'm here, I'll set these to the side, put a little bit of semolina in between them so they don't stick together. So there we have it. While I'm working on my rigatoni or my garganelli, I'm just gonna have a little wet towel to put over these so they don't dry out. So we've got our little board right here. This is, you can use this for gnocchi, clearly just to put it down, cavatelli, whatever you wanna roll out. So just rolling it over itself. I just want it to wrap around the stick perfectly, and then I wanna apply some pressure when I'm right here, and then just roll it all the way through, but not too tight to where it doesn't come off of the stick. So now you can see that it has all of these grooves all the way around. That's really gonna be awesome for picking up sauce. And that's our rigatoni. You can do the same thing, but turn it around into a diamond shape and start from here. So that's two different pasta shapes. This one here is a garganelli. So whichever you prefer, whatever you'd like to do. I think for this application, I'll just be doing the rigatoni. Okay, so it's been about 16 hours, and this is our lamb. So it's braised all the way through. I've got a fine mesh strainer here that I'm just gonna get the liquid in right away, and then I'm gonna pick through to get all the lamb. So obviously all that liquid, all the work that we did for it, that's gonna be the base for our sauce. Now let's move on to the lamb. If you guys are wondering whether this lamb is tender or not, I guess this is all the information that you need. And then just clean up around the lamb a little bit. There's gonna be some kind of more gelatinous pieces. I don't necessarily want those in the mix. You can see that it's just coming right off. So I'm just gonna go directly into a pot here with our stock or our sauce. I'm just gonna get this warm enough to where I can start to emulsify a little bit of butter in it. So I've got my sauce here that's nice and warm. I'm just gonna start blending a little bit of butter into it to emulsify. You don't want to throw in a ton of butter at a time. If that temperature change is too large, it'll start to split your sauce. So emulsify this little by little. Essentially, beurre monte, you're just mounting with butter to get a nice glossy finish. So a touch of xanthan is just gonna keep the butter from splitting. So I'm just gonna season it with a pinch of salt, a really good amount of black pepper. I think people kind of underutilize black pepper, to be honest with you. I love a lot of black pepper in all of my dishes. And then we'll give it a little bit of a taste. Could use a little bit more salt and some sherry vinegar just to really bump it up there. Great, our sauce is good to go. We'll set it to the side. Next, we're gonna work on our morel mushrooms. They've got this little stem to them. It's completely edible. It's not a big deal if you wanna keep it. I just like to cut it off for some aesthetics. So now our butter is melted. We'll go in with our morels and just start to coat them right away. They're basically like almost deep frying in a little bit of butter in the beginning. A little bit of salt, some black pepper. And then right as they're finishing up, just gonna grate in a clove of garlic. Like I said, I wanna finish them in the sauce, so I'm just gonna pull them to the side until we're ready to use them. So remember, these are our dragon's tongue peas that we're just gonna put in from the beginning just to get going right away. They're really, really supple, so they're not gonna take very long. It's almost like blanching them in the sauce. We're going in with the rest of our peas as well. We'll also go in with our pieces of braised lamb. So now I have our pasta water ready that's been seasoned with just a little bit of salt. And now we're gonna go in with our rigatoni. This is really only gonna take about a minute and a half because we just made them, and I'm gonna throw them to finish in our sauce. So I just wanna make sure that they're kind of getting a head start. So now I'm just gonna transfer our pasta right into our lamb sauce. So now our pasta is starting to cook in there. It's starting to thicken up the sauce a little bit. The peas are starting to also braise. From here, I'm just gonna add on our parsley, and I'm gonna put our morel mushrooms back into the mix. We'll just check in for seasoning. Delicious. I would say a touch of sherry, and we're good to serve. This will likely be for about 2 people, so I'm just gonna go in at the bottom of our plate. Then we'll finish off a bit of fresh parsley and a little bit of olive oil. And there we have it. I feel like the only thing that's not Albanian about this thing is the fact that it's pasta. Outside of that, braised lamb and mushrooms and beans is something that I ate all the time growing up. So I'm very excited for this dish. Time and time again, it's one of these dishes that people just absolutely love every time that I put it in front of them, and it's been highly requested on how to make it. So I'm really glad you guys have been following along, but let's try it and see what we think. The flavor combination is really unmatched. If you guys want to learn how to make more of these complete dishes from start to finish, I would definitely suggest that you subscribe to our channel, follow along, and then leave us a comment below to let us know what you thought of it, and what we could, be showing you next time, and the things that you're really interested in. Thank you.